Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to do an equipment review on the Allied by Farm King snowblower. What I'm also going to do is point out reasons why I decided to purchase this brand over some other brands, and I'm going to cover some secrets that this brand has that'll help you in setting it up, which also revolve around the PTO shaft. So in the video, I'm also going to cover how you would be setting up the PTO shaft if you're buying a 3-point snowblower like we have here. This is not a sponsored video. This is a snowblower that I've purchased with my own money, and I thought since I was going through this process, I would bring you a video that would review it, and in that process show you points of the snowblower and describe what I felt was beneficial over other brands, so that if you're looking for a new piece of equipment, maybe it'll help you get some information to decide. You may decide this brand isn't for you, but the information will help you make a more informed decision to buy the right piece of equipment for you, and that's the important part. Now, I settled on the Allied by Farm King, and I'll be upfront for a couple of reasons. I did do some comparisons. Price was a factor, but not only was price a factor, it was a factor because I was getting a more robust snowblower for a little less money than a less robust snowblower for a bunch of money more. And that's a combination that is really hard to resist. So let me point out a couple of things for you here, and then I'll bring the camera up a little bit closer. I went with a manual chute because I don't have a cab, and already a couple of times that I've used it confirmed what I was thinking. You're not spinning this chute around 100 times. On one part of the driveway, I'm adjusting it, and then I'm taking a few shots. I may then rotate it depending on where the wind is blowing, and then it's still sitting in that for another few shots. So I'm not really rotating it a lot. You may choose to go with an electric or a hydraulic rotator if you have a larger tractor with a cab where you just can't reach out and turn your chute. If you go with the manual, it'll save you, somewhere between $400 and $1,200 Canadian. Likely that's going to be $250, $300 American, up to about $900 American. Now, what I liked about the Allied, this is a 6610, so it's a 66-inch. Farm King specifies on their 66-inch, you're going to need a tractor that has 20 to 40 PTO horsepower at the back. This tractor has about 21 and a half, which is good for this size of unit. The only thing you may find is if you're at the lower range of the horsepower, when you have really heavy snow, or maybe you're cleaning some snow that's sat a number of days and has frozen, you'll be going a little bit slower into the snow to keep your PTO RPMs up. So that's a little bit of information just to think about. You want to purchase an implement that is wider than the tractor. My tractor is 55 inches wide, so really a 60 to 66 inch. And you'd be surprised how many dealers said, oh, you could go, 54, 48 inch. Well, I don't want to be knocking all the snow down or getting hung up because my blower's not wider. So I went with a 66. The other reason I went with the 66, and we'll cover this in a different video, is I have been using for 5 years already a snow pusher blade, and that snow pusher is 66 inches. So now when I'm cleaning deep snow and I'm going backwards, I don't have to remove my blade because the path of the snowblower is actually about an inch overall wider because of the flare on this than my front blade. So it doesn't impede. Now, what I liked about the Farm King is the overall build and gauge of material seemed to be heavier. I did not measure the material when I was going and comparing physical units at a couple of dealers. I just based that on feel and touch and how the unit looked. So to me, it looked a little more robust in its build. And that was important because I want this to last for a long time and not have issues or have any minor issues, if anything. What I also looked at that you want to compare is your fan in here. Is it a 3-blade, 4-blade, 5-blade? And what I'll do is I'll adjust the camera a little bit to give you a little better look, and then we'll take a closer look for you as well. On the Farm King, they use a 4-blade, and that's pretty much the majority of the industry. One manufacturer uses a 5, and I think their thinking is a 5-blade will just spin and catch a little more snow in smaller pieces, throwing it further. I haven't had any issues with a 4-blade. What you will want to look at is the depth of the fan blade itself. So let's do this. I'm gonna grab the camera.
All right, I just thought I'd insert this video in between the description so you can actually see the snowblower in action, and that'll just help illustrate some points that I'll be discussing, reasons for the purchase. Now, one thing to note, the chute is actually set to shoot the snow at a lower angle as we had a bit of wind. You can't really see it in the trees, but there was some lower ground wind that was actually present, and I didn't want to have some of the snow blowing back. Also, we're using the blower in not ideal conditions because there was only about an inch and a half, maybe 2 inches in a couple of spots maximum snow, which is a few centimeters, and really a snow blower is going to be more effective with deeper, heavier snow. But you can see it does a really good job. Now the blower is set at its lowest level with the skid shoes, which we'll discuss in a few moments. But what I'll do is I'll go quiet now so you can actually hear the blower operating, the sound levels from the tractor as well, and then we'll go back to the main part of the video in a few seconds.
And that way you can see up close. So when I say depth, I'm talking about these fins. What I noticed on the Farm King is that these seemed to be a little bit deeper here and here than compared to a couple of competitors. So it's just grabbing the snow a little bit more to throw it up your chute. Now that is a 22-inch fan, where the competitors seemed to be, most of them were around 21 inches. So a little bit wider opening, a little bit wider fan. Also, our auger here is a 15-inch auger. Some of the competitors used 15s, a number used 14s. Does the inch make a big difference? I really honestly couldn't tell you, but I think the slightly bigger auger will just help bring that snow to the fan and up through the chute itself. Now, a couple of other features that I liked. There's not a ton of grease points. This assembly is really made with lifetime greased units, so it saves you a bit of maintenance. What I did like is this cross brace here. and that the edge, you'll just notice here, is flared a little bit, scooping that snow in, where some of the competitors, I noticed this was just a flat edge here, and they didn't have the extra bracing. Do I think it's a big thing? Not necessarily, but I do like the extra brace. So if you have really heavy snow, wet snow, maybe you haven't gone around your house or the barn and all of a sudden you have to do some sort of maintenance work. Maybe you've had an issue and you need to clear some snow that's been sitting for a month, that's started to freeze up pretty good. When you're pushing into the snow, this is just going to brace these sides to help keep everything nice and uniform and to resist any bending. Now, nice thick metal. Now, something that will be a little controversial, and it'll really come down to personal preference, is going to be this cutting edge here. A few manufacturers have that cutting edge as a adjustable, removable, replaceable cutting edge. Farm King doesn't. You can see that edge is welded. There's a number of weld points right across, and it's not truly replaceable. If it really wore down at some point, you could have a piece of metal cut and weld it back. However, if you're purchasing this for residential use, small farm use, for that personal use, I don't think this is going to be an issue. That welding edge, let's take a closer look at it. You're going to notice it's a thick edge, you know, fairly wide, decently thick. On regular use, that's going to probably last you years and years and years. And when I say years and years, I wouldn't be shocked if 5, 8, 10 years from now, yes, it's going to be worn, but it's still not at a point of replacement. If I was purchasing an 8-foot, 10-foot snowblower on a large tractor, using it commercially, where it's going from job site to job site to job site and running 8, 10, 15 hours a day when snow comes, yes, I would buy one with a replaceable edge because it's getting lots of use on a regular basis commercially. Residential, even light commercial, if you're buying this to clean your own factory unit, etc., I think you're going to get lots of years of use. And here's why. I'm going to take you around my HLA 1500 pusher blade, and we'll cover this in another unit or another video. They have an adjustable and replaceable cutting edge here because they've taken their large commercial design and put it into a smaller residential, small commercial usage. So the big commercial units have that cutting edge, and they just naturally do that. When you look at this cutting edge, this blade is 5 years old, and that cutting edge hasn't even worn. I mean, there's little indentations because it's scraped across pavement for 5 years. But really, if you look at it, and let's see, what about if I bring you up nice and close, you can actually see when it sits on the ground, there's no gap. It's still sitting the way that I bought it when it was new, and it's been used 5 years to clean. I'll scan across my driveway. The driveway is 8,500 square feet here. So it cleans a lot of snow. To give you an idea, this is the snow pile that has compacted itself from that pusher blade. And I'm going to take you as far back as I can go, way back here. And that is the snow it's pushed from this one parking spot at the front of the garage to here. Everything beyond that corner gets pushed out to the street. So it pushes that much snow just this season, plus the additional 8,500 square feet of driveway, and it literally has worn zero. So this non-replaceable edge, because it's thick, it's welded, I don't think it's going to be an issue, and that is only a concern if you're using it as I have it set up right now, because I've just picked this up and I'm just kind of trying it out. I have the adjustable skid shoes, which we'll talk about in a moment, set so that it sits flat on the ground. There are two upper adjustments that you can see here, and that is another thing I liked about this unit. When you look at these skid shoes, they're heavy duty skid shoes. They have 3 height adjustments. So, you know, if you're going to plow, the next snowfall, I'm going to actually adjust this to sit slightly off the ground where the cutting edge won't scrape. And that way, when I go around the back of the property, it'll stay up off the grass, which is less of a concern with a 3-point hitch because I can hydraulically hold it an inch or two up off the ground. If you have those skid shoes set lower, that cutting edge is never going to scrape the ground. Now, these shoes, I like them, as I mentioned, because they're heavy duty. You can just see a good look, where some of the other competitors would have a shoe placed back here to hold it, which worried me about lateral positioning because it would be up and down, and when you go backwards, if it's set like these to the ground, you would get pressure wanting to twist it this way, and if you didn't lift it enough, it could go this way, and that kind of worried me a bit. And a few competitors use something similar to this. So that was really heavy duty. On the back here, that's where you keep your manuals in case someone else is operating your unit. I keep mine inside so they're dry. Now, I do want to give a shout out to Bob at Shaw Brothers. I've purchased equipment from them before. Bob is really great to deal with. He doesn't pressure you to purchase. That's what I like. He's really fair with his pricing, and there's no pricing games. He's just best price right up out front. Shaw Brothers is in Barrie, Ontario. They are not sponsoring this. This is my thank you for the great service that Bob and his team give me. And I've purchased both this snowblower as well as the pusher blade from them. So look them up. They are a great outfit. And again, fantastic pricing, but Bob is really a great guy to deal with. So you can keep your manuals back here if someone else is operating the unit. I don't, I keep them inside. Now the secret that I really liked with this unit is right back here. Normally for your 3-point hookup, this area back here where you hook up your 3-point is fixed. So most competitors would have this connection back here somewhere that's directly attached to the bar. What Farm King does on each side and at the top here, there's adjustments. There's actually 4 points of adjustment. When I picked up the unit, Bob had it set in this hole, which is what he called their neutral position, which is normally for 90, I would assume 90 odd % of the tractors, where the hookup point would be. What I like about the Farm King product is this adjustability, because when I set up my unit, the PTO shaft in the neutral position for this tractor was 1/4 of an inch too short. So let's talk about that before we get through the rest of the video. When you hook up your unit, you need to measure your PTO shaft. And the way to do that is on a table or a bench. You take the shaft, close it completely to the closed position, and then you extend it by 2 inches. And that's why you'll see this line. When you extend it by 2 inches, you're supposed to mark it. Now, I've just used, as a tip, I've used tire crayon to mark it because it stays on there. You mark it, then you come, hook it up to your tractor and the snowblower, put it in the full down position as we see here, raise it to the full up lifted position, and if this end of the tube goes over this line that you can't see it at any point, it is too short. Now, when you're doing that, be careful, because you do not want to blow out the ends of your PTO shaft into your tractor or into your snowblower. So do it slowly. Mine was 1/4 of an inch too short, which probably is okay. If you are too short, you need to cut your PTO shaft, which isn't complicated, but is daunting. I'll tell you, I've never cut a shaft, and it's a daunting thing, because if you make a mistake, cut it too short, or do it wrong, you're going to damage your tractor, or you're going to need to buy a brand new PTO shaft. With Farm King, I had the adjustability. So I took it from the neutral position, and these are about 2 inches apart. So I knew by going to the next one would give me 2 inches clearance. So now when it's lowered, I have great clearance. When it's raised, I have 1/4 inch extra clearance from the line at its maximum height. So I did not have to cut this shaft. The other reason I didn't want to take a chance of cutting it, it's a really good shaft. And even though there are all these tariffs and talk going on, this shaft is made in Italy. And they make some pretty good equipment in Italy. So I didn't want to take a chance at messing that up. So I took the easy route. Made the 3 adjustments on each side, right? Dropped that further out. Brought our top from our neutral to the further position, and it sits perfect. Was much easier to make this adjustment on the snowblower than to actually spend the time cutting the shaft, etc. Plus, now I also have a shaft that will be more flexible if there's any other 3-point implements that I want to work with. So that was something I really liked, where with the competitors being a fixed point, I likely would have had to cut the shaft itself. If down the road you want to mount an electric or hydraulic rotator, the bracket is already there to do that. So you can add it on if you change your mind, or at some point, if I were to get a cab, I could do that. I do also like that the guard here flips up, so you can gain easy access to the shaft here. And there's even for summer storage, there's a little foot back here with a simple pin that you pull. It rotates, so when I go to disconnect, that foot will support the entire snowblower, making it really easy to unhook in the summer months. And those are really the majority of the reasons that I picked this. Again, you can see from the cross braces, the heavy gauge material, that it's a really well-built unit. So those are some of the points I found with the Farm King product. I guess final thing that I'll mention, there are 2 plants that make these. Farm King is out of Manitoba, Canada, and it was nice to be able to support a Canadian company. Now they also have, they're a division of Bueller, so they also have a US factory. This 66-inch is actually made in the US factory. Hence, right now, I mean, the trade wars seem to be getting worse and worse every day. Another reason I picked it up a little earlier, steel, etc., is likely to go up. Got a great deal, so made the jump now. But depending on the size of the snowblower, some will be made in Manitoba, some will be made in the US, but it's all North American made. And that was a big thing. A number of these are North American made, meaning variety of manufacturers, but be careful, there are a lot coming over, a lot coming over from China and overseas, and being able to support a Canadian / American combination company, because they have plants on both sides of the border, being able to support that Canadian company, even though they have manufacturing in the US at this time, was important to me. And it was nice to be able to do that. Now, I didn't want to hide that the 66 inches are made in the US. It all depends on the size of unit, which plant it's going to come out of, which is smart. They're just streamlining their production. If you have some questions, drop me a note. I hope you've liked the video, so please click the like and subscribe button. I will do a video on the HLA pusher blade because that's a nice piece of equipment to add. And I've been able to use this a couple of times in the quick snowfall, and it's just absolutely a great unit. Will simplify work across the board, and in combination with a good plow, whether it's a straight plow or a pusher plow, you'll be able to move big heavy snow and then do nice cleanup that will keep your driveway looking clean, de-iced very easily with that proper equipment. Anyways, Bruno here. Thanks for viewing the video. Please like and subscribe. Let me know questions and comments you have, and I hope this will help you make some decisions in your buying purchase when it comes time for you to find your own piece of equipment. Take care.